Hello everyone. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how you can create a trust relationship between your on-premise Active Directory and the cloud Active Directory. My name is Sriwant Attanaika and I'm a partner solution architect at Amazon Web Services. In the first part of the presentation, I'm going to tell you how you can create your lab setup and configure your network. Then I'm going to walk you through the configuration that you need to make in your cloud environment, how you can create a managed Active Directory in the cloud. Then I'm going to walk you through the configuration that you need to make on your on-premise Active Directory and how you can create a trust relationship between on-premise AD and cloud Active Directory. Finally, I'm going to walk you through a testing scenario where a user in the cloud Active Directory accessing assets in the on-premise Active Directory, and a case where a user in the on-premise Active Directory accessing assets in cloud Active Directory. So let's get started. I'm going to describe you how the network setup looks like. In the first case, we have this fictional company, the famous fictional company that we use to describe Microsoft related technologies called Contoso.com, set up in an address space called 192.168.0.0.16. So this network represents your corporate data center. And in this corporate data center, in this network, I have put one domain controller with the IP address 192.168.1.10. So this represents your corporate data center. In the cloud side, we have this fictional company called fabricam.com. It's also another famous fictional company that we use to describe Microsoft technologies. So here we have set up a virtual private cloud, VPC, with the address space 10.0.0.0.16. And in this VPC, we have set up two availability zones marked in orange dotted lines. In one availability zone, I have set up a managed version of Microsoft Active Directory. And in the second subnet over here, I have set up another managed version of a domain controller in this subnet. And in the third subnet, I have created an EC2 instance. What I'm going to do is to domain join this EC2 instance into the fabricam.com domain, which is kept in these two domain controllers. These two domain controllers are designed in a highly available fashion, so that if one fails, the other is available. Of course, before we are going to create trust between fabricam.com and contoso.com, we need to have network traffic flowing between these two networks. You can do it through a VPN connection, or if you want to establish it with a faster connection, you can use one of our co-location partners and establish a direct connect between cloud and your on-premise network. If you are going to do this one in a cloud environment like what I'm doing right now, you can also create two VPCs, one to represent fabricam.com and another to represent contoso.com, and then create a VPC peering connection between these two networks so that you can create some kind of a network traffic to flow between these two networks. The best way to try this one is to set up a VPN connection if you like. So that's about the network setup, and hope you get an idea. So go through this network diagram. In the comments section, you need to refer to this to know how I'm going to install different software and establish the trust between these two domains. I have created one VPC called Fabricam with the CIDR 10.0.0.0.16, and it has 4 subnets. That goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, and the first 2 are private and the other 2 are public. So if you look at the routing table, you can find that they all can route between these 2 CIDR blocks, right? 10.0.0.0.16 and 192.168.0.0.16. So this is the on-premise the CIDR block, and this is the cloud CIDR block. So they all can route in between the on-premise and the cloud. I'm in my directory service section of the AWS console. I click here, and I'm going to create a new Microsoft managed Active Directory. So I click here. I'm going to name this domain as Fabricam, fabricam.com. This one also Fabricam. I'm going to put a password. So this is the domain for fabricam.com. The VPC I'm going to select is this Fabricam VPC, and I'm going to select the subnet, the two private subnets, private 1 and private 2. So the side block for that one is 10.0.10.24, 10.0.20.24. So next step is to create it. Create Microsoft AD. It will take some time to create this Active Directory, and after that I'll come back and then pause the video for a while and then showcase what other setup that you need to make. So I'm in my AWS console for the Active Directory. So after a while, the Active Directory, the managed Active Directory is created. If you go to the properties, you can see that the VPC is Fabricam, and it's this Active Directory domain controllers are put in two subnets. If I go into this, you can find the DNS address of the two domain controllers that were provisioned. So we need to take a note of these two because we'll be setting up our VPC to use these DNS addresses to resolve it. The DNS or the machines that have been provisioned to the VPC. When the managed version of the Active Directory is created, it is given an ID called directory ID. There are two machines being provisioned here with these two addresses, and they are put into a special security group that starts with this ID. So what I'm going to do is to go to my EC2 console and then search for the security groups and then search for this special ID. So this security group is the security group of the two Active Directory controllers that were created as part of this provisioning of the managed Active Directories. I need to set up some inbound rules. So these are very specific that target the VPC that we created. You can go into details and provision the exact the port ranges to the on-premises one. That's good, but because of this is a demo, I'm going to allow some traffic, pretty much all the traffic from the network 10.0.0, and I'm going to add another rule that allows all traffic between my on-premises 192.168.0.0.16, right? So you need to have the traffic between the Active Directory controllers and the on-premises network. This is a demo, and that's why I'm pretty much opening up all the traffic, but there's a best practice guide that tells you what exact ports that you need to open and what traffics that you are allowed in between the Active Directory and the other networks. For the moment, we just set it up because it makes our life easy. Click Save. So we have set up the inbound rules. But if you look at the outbound rules, you can pretty much see that the traffic is only from these security groups, right? Destination only for these security groups. What I'm going to do is to edit this and then add a rule saying that I pretty much can send traffic to anywhere, right? I'm going to spin up a new EC2 instance. Let's call it maximum 1. Let's say T2 large because it will make the machine a bit faster. I'm going to select the Fabricam. I'm going to launch it in the public 1 subnet. Auto assign, that's fine. Domain join, I can domain join directly from here, but I'm going to showcase you some how you can do it manually once this machine is already in the subnet. So for the moment I'm not going to domain join, I'm just going to leave it as it is. So shutdown name is fine. Add storage, next security groups. I'll select something like this that allows traffic between all the 2 networks plus RDP connection to from anywhere. So remove and launch. Select my key pair. It will take some time for it to start. So my instance is starting, and I will pause this video for a while and then come back when it started. My instance has started and I have just named it as client 1. What I'm going to do is to connect into this VPC to this EC2 instance. So this is the client machine that I'm going to domain join into my managed Active Directory. So we have this machine already in place. Let's try to first do some checks. The first check I need to do is whether I can connect into these DNS addresses. Right. So if I ping, so this is one of the Active Directory. DC. So you can get the ping reply from that, and you can ping to the other also. So these are the 2 addresses that I got from the Active Directory manage Active Directory page, right? So this is the fabricam.com domain controller that I created. So far so good. You can find that they are working, but there's one more thing I need to do, and that's to check what's the DNS server that this one is using. So if I click ipconfig all, you can find that as of now the domain name server that it's using is 10.0.0.2. So this is the Amazon provided default DNS server. What we need to do is to instead of using this DNS server, I need to use the DNS server provided by my Active Directory that I created. So this Active Directory has the DNS, its own DNS server. We need to set up our VPC to use the fabricam.com DNS servers instead of Amazon provided the default VPC. So I'm going to take a note of these 2 DNS addresses, and I'm going to my VPC manager, and I'm going to select the Fabricam. As of now, it uses this default DHCP option set. I'm going to create a new DHCP option set, and I'm going to call it Fabricam. Domain name is fabricam.com. Domain name servers are these 2. NTP server, you can put maybe one of these, doesn't matter actually. NetBIOS server, so same. Node type is 2. Create, yes. So I need to associate this Fabricam DHCP option set with the VPC. This Fabricam VPC, right? What I'm going to do is to right click and then set the edit DHCP option set, associate with this fabricam.com one. Yeah, so far so good. And also you need to select DNS resolution, you need to disable it. So far so good. I'm going to my development, the EC2 instance that I spin up. I'm going to say ipconfig flush DNS. So it's all good. So ipconfig all. ipconfig wall. You can see that the DNS servers are now coming from the Active Directory instead of the default Amazon provided DNS. Just to let you know, it took some time for this to detect these two DNS servers. Because this is a video recording, I just pause and let some time for DNS to propagate. So we are now in a good situation to understand like how we can domain join this machine. So if I say something like ping fabricam.com, so I'm getting a reply from one of the Active Directory controller, or one of the DNS server, one of the managed DNS server that got provisioned as part of Microsoft Active Directory provisioning. So I'm going to domain join this. Just select this, go to properties, advanced settings, computer name, change. So right now it's in the work group. Let me call this machine as client1. The domain I want to join is fabricam.com. It will take some time to do the communication. If you are lucky, we will get the prompt to enter our domain admin password. So let's say the name is fabricam.com. I think it's admin. Yep. So we are now domain joined. So what I'm going to do is to restart this machine. Restart now, and then come back again with the new domain joined account. My client one is up, so I'm going to remote desktop into that. But this time with fabricam.com admin account. Connect. The password is done. Yep. So now I'm logged in with fabricam.com admin account into this new EC2 instance that I spin up. I'm in my EC2 instance. What I'm going to do is to check who am I. So you can see that I'm in fact coming from fabricam.com domain. I'm going to start the server manager and install some tools. Role-based video installation. What I'm going to do is to install the Active Directory management, remote management tools. So if you go into remote server administration tools, you can select the remote administrative tools for the Active Directory and for the DNS server. Right. This is good. Click next and then install. So the tool installation is done. If you go into your tools, you can find some new tools being installed. If I go into Active Directory users and computers, so this is the Fabricam domain, and I have my computers and users in this organization unit. Just to recap and summarize what we have done so far, what we had done was creating the assets related to this fabricam.com. We created the VPCs, we set up the subnets, and then we put two managed version of the domain controllers into these two subnets. And also we domain join this EC2 instance into fabricam.com domain. We set up DHCP option sets. So this EC2 instance, instead of using Amazon provided DNS, it uses Windows or Active Directory provided DNS servers. So when it searches for DNS servers, it uses fabricam.com as its servers. What I'm going to do next is to create this contoso.com and then showcase you how you can establish the trust between fabricam.com and contoso.com. I'm in one of the contoso.com machine with some Active Directory tools being installed. So if I go here and then type who am I, you can see that it's actually from contoso.com, right? So I'm going to do some pin test. So the domain controllers of fabricam.coms are this. So just to check whether they are actually reachable and working, make sure that you have these firewall settings open up in your Amazon.com Amazon VPCs. So we'll ping the second DC in fabricam.com. That's all good. Let's try to pin one of the EC2 instance that I started in fabricam.com. So if I ping it, interestingly, you don't get any pin request because the Windows firewall is blocking it. So what you need to do is to go to your the fabricam.com. So here I'm in my fabricam.com, and this is the machine that I'm trying to pin into. Make sure that you enable the ICP ping request. So just enable this, apply outbound, also just enable the ping. You are not supposed to do it, but you can just use it for any debugging purpose if you need. All right, so all good. So I'm going again into my contoso.com and check whether this machine is reachable. Yeah, so my connections are working fine. The next step is to set up the DNS configuration in contoso.com. So what I'm going to do is to go here and then click tools, select the DNS configuration. So I'm in my DC1 of contoso.com. I need to create a conditional forwarders so that this contoso.com domain knows when it has request for fabricam.com which DNS servers to use, right? So for example, if I try to ping fabricam.com, it doesn't know how to resolve it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to create a new conditional forwarder, and let's call it fabricam.com, and I'm going to add these two DNS addresses. So one is that, the other one is this. There's an error you are getting here. Just ignore it for a while and click OK. So you have the fabricam.com. So I'm going to say IP config flush DNS. You cannot execute it unless you run this command as an administrator. So I'm going to start my command prompt as an administrator. DNS. So let's try to ping fabricam.com, and now you can find that you get a reply from one of the Active Directory or one of the DNS servers in fabricam.com. It's actually got the reply from this DNS server. So the conditional forwarders are set up correctly. The next thing we need to do is to create a trust between contoso.com and fabricam.com. So you first need to initiate it from your on-premise side. So what I'm going to do is to go to Active Directory domain and trust. So here you can find my contoso.com. As of now, there are no any other domains here. In a real enterprise scenario, you'll find like different subdomains or other companies that you have merged with. So I'm going to go for the properties, go to the trust, and I'm going to create a new trust. And I'm going to make it, let's say, fabricam.com trust. Okay. It's going to be a forest level trust. It's going to be a two-way trust so that both parties trust each other. Depending on your scenario, you can set up how you want it. And create the trust for the following, this domain only. So for the moment, you just select this one. Forest-wide authentication is what we want. So this is a password that I need to set up so that when I provision this in the fabricam.com site, I can use the same password. So I'm going to give us some password into this. Hopefully its complexity is strong enough. And click next, click next, click next. No, do not confirm the outgoing trust for the moment. Do not confirm the incoming trust. That's fine. Click finish. These are the things that I don't want at the moment. So you have the two fabricam.com trust that I have created in our contoso.com domain. So this is good, right? But we now need to set up our directory services again. What we need to do is to go to the trust relationship. So we send a trust relationship to this domain controller. What we need to do is to create a new trust relationship from here. The remote domain name should be contoso.com. Trust password that I have put before. It's going to be a two-way trust. So this is the conditional forwarder that I need to set up. So this address has to be one of the domain controller name address of your on-premise DC. So this is my on-premise DC. So if I look at it here, you can find the IP address of this one is 192.168.1.10. So that's the IP address I'm going to put. 192.168.1.10. If you have multiple domain controllers, you can add multiple domain controllers. As of now, I just have one DC, so I just add in it here. So if everything goes well, now it's creating the trust relationship. If everything goes well, this will be in active state shortly. So it'll take some time for this trust to be validated. So I'm going to pause the video for a while and then come back again. So I'm going to showcase you one common problem that you will face when you try to create this trust relationship. So in this case, I'm going to showcase, like, it showed that the trust relationship created failed, and it gives you an error message. The remote domain contoso.com is not reachable. Please ensure your security group settings are correct and your conditional forwarders is configured properly, right? So this happens usually when the cloud Active Directory cannot communicate with your on-premise Active Directory, or it can be because the DNS resolution fails, that it cannot locate where the on-premise Active Directory is. It can be due to some security issue. For example, if you have firewall set up in your on-premise environment, which prevents any communication or trust creation from outside parties. So there can be a lot of reasons. So we need to go and then check why this happens. So the areas that I'm looking for is usually my firewall settings, both in the cloud. There are different layers of firewalls you have. You have security groups, you have the network access control list, you have Windows firewalls. In the on-premise sites also, you may have some different hardware control firewalls or software control firewalls. So you need to check whether this connection can happen. I'm going to do some debugging, like to understand what exactly happened, or to identify whether I can isolate the problem. So I'm going to the DNS. So I type the DNS, so the IP address of one of the domain controllers in the cloud, right? And it has created this the conditional forwarder called contoso.com with the correct IP address, so it's good. Let's say I go into the DNS, just close everything, and we'll add new, connect to a new DNS server. So let's select this one, 129, the following one. So there also you will find that it is being pointed correctly. Sometimes this connection fails because this DNS propagation doesn't happen in timely manner. So just to make sure, let's type contoso.com also. Yeah. So just to let you know that this is not the managed Active Directory machine. This is one of the client machine that is that I'm using at the moment. So you can see that the IP address of this machine is not the one of the Active Directory domains. Of course, these machines we cannot connect because they are managed. So you cannot log into them as a remote desktop administrator, for example. So far so good. I can't identify any problem except any firewalls that may be blocking it. So let's try to go and create it. Maybe that this failed because there was some problem in creating the because there are some delays in network communication. So let's create the trust relationship again. In this case, I'm going to say again contoso.com. Password is it's going to be a two-way trust. So conditional forward already found it, which is good. So you click add. Let's check whether it will succeed this time. So this time it was successful. So you can find that the status is verified, which means that the trust is now established. Usually, I guess what happens is when it creates the conditional forwarder, it takes some time for it to detect like what DNS servers it should use to resolve these the names. So when you create for the next time, usually it succeeds. Make sure that your firewalls are not blocking any communication with the cloud and the on-premise data center. On my left side, I have a machine from fabricam.com, and my right side you have one from contoso.com. So if I go to the server manager and I select the Active Directory domain and trust over here, domain and trust, you can find that the newly created trust is already there. So this is what I created from AWS management console, right? So that trust is established. So we need to test whether it will work or not. So if I go into Active Directory users and computers, I'm going to create, let's say, a new group, right? So let's call a domain local group called finance, right? It can be on a different organization unit, but it doesn't matter. I'm also going to create a new user. Let's call it John. So this one, his name is John. Okay, name is also John, right? Password never expires. We just give this is some fake password, it doesn't matter. So I have the John and also a group called finance, right? So here I'm in my contoso.com domain. I already created a user called Kate and a group called HR guys, right? Let's try whether we can add John from Fabricam into HR guys in contoso.com. So if we can add this user, so if you look at this, this is a domain local ID group, members. So this is coming from a domain that is no longer existing, and that's why I removed it. So let's add one. So if I click here where to locate it, you can find that it already shows that fabricam.com exists. So I can say, yeah, fabricam.com, click OK, and I'm going to search for somebody called John. So that's good. Click OK. So now the John from fabricam.com is in one of the Active Directory group of the contoso.com. So let's try whether we can add to the finance somebody from contoso.com, right? So if I open this group, members, add, instead of fabricam.com, this time I need to search it from contoso.com. So let's say the name is Kate, right? So now Kate from contoso.com is now part of the finance team of fabricam.com. So in this way that the users can interact. Of course, you will then you can give, for example, folder permissions. So if I take this machine, so let's say I'm going to share a folder. Let's say important. Let's say this is something like a finance docs, right? So I can say, for example, properties. I can share it. Maybe with the Active Directory group, or so I can say finance. So that's the group you can give it, or you can even give for Kate. Kate is not available on fabricam.com, which is correct. So I need to look at contoso.com. So the Kate is there, right? So I can share it with, for example, read-write permission. The Kate there can see this folder if she logs into her machine. So that's the trust relationship. So we created two domains, contoso.com and fabricam.com, and established a trust relationship between them. So the contoso or the fabricam.com is in the cloud, and the contoso.com is an on-premise Active Directory. That concludes the presentation. Hope you enjoyed. Have a nice day. Thank you.